Dee. Welcome to Codezilla Chats.
Thank you so much for having me, Sherry. I'm excited to be here.
I always tell my beloved guest that every summer I talk to literally hundreds of amazing parents. We have riveting conversations, and then summer ends, and I don't see them potentially for another 12 months, if ever again. So I'm determined this year to keep the conversation going. And you were literally, you're in my top three. So I'm really glad that we're chatting today.
I'm excited.
And you're very qualified because the conversation today is about 70s and 80s parenting versus modern day parenting. I know, right? I was going to bring up my big shoulder pads and my polyester clothing.
Right?
I think you're really qualified to chat about this because you are a digital techie, a LinkedIn guru who helps people like me look better on LinkedIn. So if anyone knows the difference between then versus now, it's DB.
Well, I'm honored to be part of this conversation, and I think you do amazing on LinkedIn, but thank you.
Well, so truthfully, I just look at what you do and I copy. Most sincere form of flattery, D. I learn from the best. But seriously, you and I are both moms, and we're both girl moms. You have one daughter, I have two. What
Yes.
do you think is the biggest difference growing up? Oh, I should ask you, you don't tell me your age. I'm a Gen Xer. You might be a millennial.
I'm a proud Gen Xer, and I've discovered this year we are the forgotten generation. But I was watching this video the other day. It's not so much that we are forgotten, it's just that our parents just figured we could figure out everything for ourselves and always told us to go outside. So we weren't really forgotten. But yes, so I'm in my 50s and my daughter is 13 years of age.
Okay, so congratulations. We are both forgotten and reborn. We're both Gen X. You don't look like you're in your 50s. Um, Again, whatever lighting you're using or cream, please hit me up after after we hit record. And my eldest daughter, oh my gosh, Dee, she just started university this fall, and
Ooh,
my youngest just turned 14.
wow.
That's a different conversation for a different chat. But
Yeah.
what do you think, Dee, is the biggest difference between when we were younger, forgotten, growing up, versus raising our girls nowadays?
Definitely what a big difference is. So, I mean, like I said, I do remember my mom saying, just go outside and come back before the lights come on. And, now I think like to this day and age, I think it was just recently we started letting our daughter like walk home with a friend, and it's freaking me out. And, so we started that this year, but last year, I used to wait on the corner for her, and I would say, I'm gonna walk the dog. I'm gonna walk the dog, and then I would just magically end up being in the area where she is, so now we found out that there's a friend on our street, so she walks home like all the way with a buddy. But before, where there's just that little tiny bit where she's walking on her own, I would magically appear. And if I'm not walking with the dog, it's like, wow, there's my mom on the corner magically appearing. And so that was a really hard adjustment where back then, easily walking on my own, no problem. And with my daughter doing, it's just quite scary. And, sometimes I tease her. So she'll see me walking from like she's coming down and she sees me. And sometimes what I would do is I would just like run towards her. I would just run towards her and hug her, and she's like, no, no, no. Just we're kind of pretending like it's slow motion, and then we walk part way. But it was annoying for her, but she loved it. I think it was more scary for me though.
Mm, yes. So I love the duality, right? Like, please don't, please do. I'm looking out for you, but I don't want people to know that I'm looking for my mom. I
Yeah.
hear you. I had the exact same childhood. I don't know. Maybe the kids are the same. Maybe we've just changed. Here I want to say that our kids have a different childhood. Maybe it's just us. 'Cause why were our mothers not as nervous, as we are nowadays? Is it really living in a bigger, badder city? Because in so many ways, you could say that we have more awareness, more self-awareness. Our kids are more educated. I mean, they're maturing faster for better or for worse. So you could argue that they're probably more equipped to deal with modern day city living than we are.
I
Maybe
think it's a
too much.
think it's a blend of both. Like the other day she's participating in cross country or track and field.
Nice.
And so this happens every year. And my husband and I, we go out of our way to take the time off, take the afternoon off. And I was speaking to my social media coordinator, and I told her that we're going to be I'm going to be signing off at about 12 o'clock because my daughter's going to be running. And she's like, wow, she goes, that's so amazing and she's a Gen Xer. Because when I was in school, no parents were ever coming to the basketball games or to the cross country. And I said, exactly. And we were just joking around, even say for parent meet the teacher night. My
Yes.
my parents, they were always late. And sometimes so it would end at 7. And I remember one time saying to them, because it was the teacher was waiting for them. So the teacher was just meeting everybody. And I remember them coming in and I said, can you guys not be late for once? Like I was so annoyed. And say for my husband and I, we're at the track meets, we're at the soccer meet, we're
That's
there for like last week we went to go for high school orientation at one of the high schools that she's
totally.
considering. My parents never went to high school orientation.
There was no
So
choice. You,
yeah, they were working.
well, I don't even think we had that as an option. You just went to your local high school. End of story.
Yeah, well, I decided not to go to my local high school. I decided, like, if I go to my local high school, I'm just repeating middle school all over again. So I did go to a high school where I had to take 2 to 3 buses. And yeah, and I was just so happy about it. Then eventually I went back to the local high school in the last 2 grades of the year. But that being said, I was considering that high school 2 buses away. I was also considering an art school 3 buses away, and I went to the orientation, but my parents didn't go,
So you
right?
went by yourself. So high school, you would have been like 15, 16 by yourself?
Yeah, so grade 8, are you in grade 8? You're
14,
14?
15.
Yeah, 14, 15. So I went with a bunch of friends to those schools and I just came back and I said, "Hey, this school offers this school offers that.
Yeah.
Sign off."
Yeah, it's okay. So I just had a flashback because girlfriend, I don't go back. Like, I have the world's worst memory, which is a blessing and a curse. But I just had a flashback when I was 13, growing up in Winnipeg. My mother decided to send me to like the good private school on the other side of the city. Full caveat, I was a charity case kid. Like my mother, she basically gave them like a sack of potatoes and I got to go for free. But the moral of the story is at age 13, I took a bus all the way across the city, Winnipeg, by myself. And fast forward to today, I know young girls, peers of both of my daughters, so ages 14 and 18, who live in Toronto and they have never taken the TTC by themselves. So think
Yeah.
about
Yeah. Oh gosh, Sherry, this is like a lot of memories. We're going to be all over the place.
that.
So, one of the rules that my mom said was on your birthday, when I was younger, always bring a cake. And then as I got into like grade 3, grade 4, she'd pull me out of class for half of the day. And then when I got out because it's your birthday and you shouldn't have to work on your birthday. So that's something I do now. Don't
Nice.
work on my birthday. And then, but that being said, we would always take the bus. So I remember it was in January, my birthday's in January, and she's like, just bring your brother. So there was a note. Yes, she was a good mom. So there was a note, and she used to work at Eaton's department store. And so we're in Toronto. And so we were at like the Jane area, and my brother and I, who was 3 years younger than me, we would take the bus and go and meet her at Dundas and go have lunch. So we were just taking the bus, and she either with my brother or on my own. But let me tell you, like I'm in my 50s. If you tell me to get on the subway, I don't know what's going on. I'm very uncomfortable. And that being said, I'm very uncomfortable for my daughter to be on there.
Well, okay, so full transparency, Dee, I don't like taking the subway nowadays.
Mm,
Had any bad incidents, but I think we just know our city is sort of a victim of its own success. Like, hey,
yeah.
we're such a popular city. Toronto's my adopted home, and I've always been very patriotic. Go Blue Jays! But yeah, like it's intense. The subway is intense. Luckily, I like to walk. I will literally
Hmm.
walk for 60 minutes and get some steps in because I don't want to take the subway and I don't like driving. Yeah, so we've just gone full circle from how we grew up taking public transit in
Yeah.
our early teens, halfway across the big bad city, to now. Both our kids are sheltered, and we're not we're not saran wrapping them in a bubble, but it's pretty close, Dee. I think
A
it's
little bit, yeah.
so. I have to ask, would you call yourself a latchkey kid when you were growing up?
Absolutely. We had our own key, and heaven forbid if you lost the key. Like we lived in an apartment, so sometimes the key would just like go down the elevator shaft. Um, but yeah, so what's the difference is that, our daughter has a key, and where I had a key. It was like a badge of honor, and actually a badge of honor, but just like we all had keys because our parents were coming home after us. So, like, for the life of me, I cannot understand why my daughter will always be like, ah, I left the key at home, or, right? I always like look for her to have that key. Yeah.
Yeah, my daughters always lose their key, which gets me a little
Mm,
bit anxious. But I was a latchkey kid. But I think probably our moms were one of the first generations of women who started to work. My
yeah.
mom started to work, and secretly, I was jealous of the neighbor down the street in the, working class suburbs of Winnipeg, whose mom, like this sounds crazy nowadays to admit this, but her mom would be home every day because she was a stay-at-home mom, and she would
Mm.
serve them chef boyardee for lunch, which
Ooh, I remember that. That was so tasty.
yeah, gourmet. Because I'm making myself back then, you could freely eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, right? So I'm going home making myself in the kitchen by myself peanut butter sandwiches, and my lucky neighbors have their stay-at-home mom serving them up a warm lunch in a can.
Right. Yes.
Ironically, now both my daughters are really good cooks in the kitchen and bakers. Um, we did not have a dinner of Chef Boyardee, so that probably wasn't the biggest, loss in the long run. But I don't know if they appreciated what you and I do because now I've met more parents like you and myself who, because we were latchkey kids, we maybe are overcompensating with our children. Like, I'm here for you. I'm here at all the plays. I'm here at all the sports events. I'm here to meet you after school. And secretly, I don't think my kids really appreciate that, Dee. I don't think they do.
Yeah, and yeah, for sure. Last week was the school and then dance. I hear you. And then, but it fell on my gym days. And so it's like, I'm really here for you. And there's a bit of me saying, oh, I'm missing the gym. Like it was a couple of weeks in a row. But yes, well, when we went to the high school, my daughter just disappeared, and she just disappeared. And I was like, I could have been at the gym.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I have a confession. I'm only telling you. This part will be deleted from the internet and stuff. My daughter's school does these like 2.5 hour end of school plays, musicals, but every teacher participates. So it's not like a 90-minute or even 2 hour session. It's 2.5 hours with no intermission. And honestly, it's painful. And here's where I'm happy about modern day parenting and technology. Secretly, I put in my earbuds and I hide them. And I'm like, yeah, bravo.
Wow.
I am podcasting for virtually 2.5 hours because there's only so much that parents can actually have to give after a long
That
day.
is genius.
My husband did the same thing, but his hair is too short.
That's genius. My daughter was in a play. It was only an hour. I went to all four. And now I'm thinking I could have been listening to a podcast.
That's my secret, and it stays between you and me. So we're kind of talking about how life was different then versus now. In full disclosure, I jotted a few questions that I had for you, some thought starters, and then of
Ooh.
course, modern day world, I had to ask AI because it's the oracle. And what I realized when I took a step back, virtually every difference that AI coughed up was about how much better life was. Like indirectly, it's like
Mm.
you look at it, you're like, well, everything sounds worse nowadays. And I will say, I talked to a lot of parents, and I think we all joke about the differences. I don't know if we always think it's better back then, reminiscing about the good old days. What are your thoughts, Dee? Do you want to go back? If you could, would you go back and raise your child as a child of the '70s or the '80s?
I think I would. I would. Like when I think back to those days, I don't right now for the life of me, I cannot think of me thinking like, wow, I wish my mom was on time and attended the parent teacher because I was really proud for those things. But in terms of, say, being outside with my friends, it wasn't so much about the freedom and being away from my family. I mean, I would easily bring my brothers with me, but it was nice to just head out, knock on Heather's door, knock on Heidi's door, and we all go to the park. Or it was nice just to call on somebody and ride the bike. And, I knew their parents knew me, parents knew each other. So, and then, yeah, so it doesn't, like now it just, everything just feels more careful.
Structured,
Right?
planned, organized, premeditated.
Yes, and it was just so easy to head out and go outside, whereas like nowadays it's like, okay, you have that device or you're in front of the TV and or maybe your child wants to go outside, but their friend is attached to something,
Yes,
right? So
yes.
I don't like all my memories, even though like the memories you're definitely a tough kid. I fell off a fence. I fell off a fence. I scraped my knee bad. And my mom was like, serves you right. And she's a great mom, by the way. Serves you right and put some rubbing alcohol on it, right? But like right now, I'm not thinking to myself, bad mom. And oh, I wish I was coddled a little bit. It was just something that happened. And I think we ended up and falling off of the slide and getting a little bit bruised, but it was all out of play, not at each other, right? It just happened. But it happened because you were playing and it just came with the territory, right? It's like going to the gym, you lift weights, you expect that you're probably going to be sore the next morning. And that's all it was. So for that's the reason why I don't look at it as it being like, I could easily say that if times were, I guess, different, I could bring up my daughter during those times.
Yeah, Dee, you raise really great points. Um, Although hopefully I'm mature enough and humble enough to see the pros and the cons. I'm grateful that you and I grew up without cell phones, right? Like even I rarely even have my phone. I know when I'm in the house, I never have it with me because it's a distraction. I have a computer because it's a bigger screen. But I, I have a love-hate thing. And, obviously I run a coding camp for kids, so I can't be hypocritical here. Um, I think it's the world's biggest distraction. And I remember even when my girls were younger, I couldn't pay the neighbors to get a play date. because their kids are never outside. And on top of that,
Mm.
in all fairness, a lot of moms now work. They might have nannies as childcare providers. So the nannies didn't want to play date with me. They had their own arrangements. So, if you're lonely, I guess the phone's is a substitute, the screen's a substitute. But at the same time, as much as it was carefree and innocent, I remember some stories from the innocent, innocuous suburbs of Winnipeg. And if I'm really honest, because we lived in a different era where kids were kept in a bubble for longer, I knew of at least one child who probably would have been grappling with their sexuality. And I think that must have been hard because they
Mm.
wasn't accommodated. I definitely, this one's harder to talk about, but I definitely know that the neighbors had adopted an Indigenous girl. And I think the brother of that family was molesting her. And I only knew that because his sister just said some throwaway line like, "Ooh, so and so makes the little girl come in the sleeping bag with him." And I had no
Mm.
context for what that meant. I was just like, "Oh, that's just gross." No context. And many times, especially when, something in the media or truth and reconciliation happens, I think that family thought they were doing good by adopting this girl, and she was probably molested. I've also learned subsequently that not every child who was adopted actually came from was actually legally put into the system. There may have been inappropriate ways that they were removed from their family. So it might have been a double whammy. And I thought, I didn't know to tell my parents. I did not know. I had no vocabulary for this, right? We were just told don't talk to strangers, don't accept candy, or pet the puppy from the guy in the creepy guy in the car. But you never saw this person ever in your entire life. But you would everyday things happening that we weren't equipped for. So yeah, that was a long ramble, but I see the pros and cons of the innocent, sheltered life versus maturing too quickly nowadays.
Yeah, and then to that, so I totally hear you and I remember those stories too. And now the sheltered life, our kids are on the phone. And my family's always quite surprised that I am a little bit antsy. Like I use marketing for fun for myself and as a business. But, when we were having this conversation about our daughter having a phone, it was like, I would love for us to have some rules. I'd love for us to know the passwords. I would love for her to know. And
Yeah.
actually, I felt validated because they had somebody come in and talk to the school. And this professional said that, let your kids know that, yes, it's their phone, but it's also your phone. And at any time, you can scroll through and take a look. So yeah, there's quite a bit of dangers like on the phone if we're not too careful. So what is it? We hear like new levels, different devils. There's just yeah.
How do you, or if at all, because again, like I acknowledge I run a kids activity program that leans on technology, right? There's no escaping that. How do you reconcile, if it has ever come up, how you work in the digital media space as a LinkedIn consultant for professionals, and at the same time hesitation about a phone, social media for your 13-year-old?
Yeah, so difficult for me, but I have to model the example. So and notice I said difficult. So, I mean, we hear often on the news, like parents, put away your phones, right? There's so much to do on the phones. Yes. Are we scrolling? We are. However, we also have apps, so it can make our grocery shopping easier. There is online banking. So, there are so many things that visually look like we're just on the phone, but we are using the phone. So, things that I'm trying to do, for instance, is I don't have like as you mentioned, I don't have to have my phone with me all the time. So it's funny, my phone could be in a room, and then, my husband will be like, "You left your phone over." And I'm like, it's okay, right? So just like I don't have to have the phone, or I love watching Dancing with the Stars. So something that I've decided to do is crochet. So I'm crocheting a scarf because being doing social media, it's like share what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing in my business. I'm watching Dancing with the Stars. We're pretending to vote. And but now the phone can be over here, and I never use a phone to vote, but I like to scroll to see what people are saying about the dance. So now I'm doing things like crocheting a winter scarf. I don't know if it'll be finished. We're entering November. But just doing something different with my hands so she can see that.
Now, and so that's brilliant. I never made that connection. You're keeping your hands occupied. The smoker who quits and starts to eat.
Yes.
Yes. Have you actually told your daughter I'm crocheting as a way to occupy my fingers?
Well, what I did tell her was that, so I'm an early riser, and sometimes during the program or whatever program we're watching, the moment I sit down, because I'm just like, go, 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 go. So I can sit down and then I'll fall asleep. So, and when you have something in your phone, in your hand, like a phone, for instance, it's easy to stay awake. So I just plain out told her that I'm crocheting the scarf. So A, I'm getting something done for the winter, but also I want to be able to stay awake and be like in the moment with you as well. Yeah. So yeah.
Kudos for that. I think your point about the phone and productivity is bang on. If I had to make an observation and a judgment, I'm guilty of both. It's when parents are multitasking with their child. Like it's the whole mindfulness. And I think that is the worst role modeling because your kid knows you're not really pushing them on the swing. They know that you're not really engaged with them at the park. And I see that this one I see a lot. Um, yeah, I mean, I think probably my biggest shock is seeing children in strollers who have a device. So
Ooh.
kudos to you for doing something productive in it and wearable because I think that that sounds fun. I look forward to seeing you sharing your crochet scarf.
Oh, yeah. And I want to add that when we go out to the mall, my phone, the ringer is turned all the way down. So if the phone is being pulled out, it's because I've pulled it out. Maybe I'm kind of comparing prices, but she knows that we're not going to be interrupted with the phone. But it was a lot of work for me to even feel comfortable doing that and not feel like I was missing out.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't want to romanticize the past because I personally, as much as I enjoyed playing with my neighbors, I think my childhood was kind of boring. And so part of me thinks, wow, I have all this wonderfulness at my fingertips and the world is flat. Because especially for kids who are a bit, unique, different. I referenced a child who probably struggled with their sexual orientation. I was an oddball kid in Winnipeg. I would have loved to have just some visual images that I'm like, oh, okay. Because I actually think that's really helpful. Find your tribe no matter where they are online. But
Mhm.
I do appreciate it's too much of a good thing taken too far. So, Dee, if we had to think about uh, the best way to raise your child in today's digital world, you mentioned, right, passwords. It's their phone, but like your property. What other tips are you implementing that you want to suggest and share with other parents today?
Always ask permission. So kids like to take their phone out and take pictures, and we see as adults we do that. So I like this is something that I learned for myself. So going out to dinner with friends, some of my friends they just do not want to be in the picture. Not because it's going on social, they just don't like taking pictures. So I've always had that awareness, and especially that they know what it is that I do. I want them to feel comfortable. So actually, this is another reason why I don't always pull out my phone, or now I head off to a networking event. if I take any pictures, it goes up in my stories, like when I get home. But what I say to my daughter is ask for permission. So one time I was braiding her hair and she was kind of filming me, like braiding. And I said, you have to ask for permission. So things that it's like ask, like making sure that you have that awareness that not everybody wants to be part of your video. So things like that, for instance.
That's a great tip. Um, I think it's probably one of the best tips I've heard. And I've actually not heard that or read that online from a lot of the experts. They talk more about safety and security, but just more about personal preference. Because even I'm shocked, again, when you're a Gen Xer, the biggest change in marketing is how much we share or overshare our lives.
Mhm.
And I feel like moms these days look perfect moms, like they're constantly sharing. It's kind of like the Kardashian life. And I find that horrifying to have every moment of your life shared. I find it even more confusing why people think it's entertainment. Like, why would it's
Yes.
everyday life? I can see going to the Oscars or the Met Gala, but a lot of things are just plain brushing my teeth, boring, mundane things. So your point is well made. Ask for permission, don't assume. I love it.
Yeah. And if I can share one more really quick, we hear it often about looking up. So, because we went to Ottawa and my daughter had the phone and she's just, I'm letting her like kind of take control of guiding us. But I said to her, you have to look up. A, somebody can take the phone. B, when you're looking down at that map, you could trip. Phone flies from hand, phone is broken. But yeah, like we just have to be aware of our surroundings. So there's so many cases where we see people looking down, our kids as well, and of course, safety crossing the street. But that's a very important one. Like you gotta look up.
Yep. Okay, Dee. So on that note, ask for permission and you got to look up. I'm really grateful that we connected. I'm feeling a bit old right now.
Really? Oh, I just had a wonderful time going down memory lane.
Well, I have good memories. Um, I think if I had to redo raising my kids, there's some things I would want from my childhood, but some things I like more about today. Like I like how probably the biggest difference is women are working for better or for worse. But I mean, if I think about it, three of the women in my family and my mother-in-law, everyone came from families with like a seven, eight, nine kids. And one of my aunts did the math and she said, my grandmother was either pregnant or nursing for essentially like 20, 25 years of her, like all of her younger years. And that's what was normal back then, right? To have large families.
Yeah.
We've compressed it if we're having kids still. But I don't think I want to be doing diapers and hand washing for 9 or 10
No.
kids. I can't
And
lie.
I don't miss encyclopedias. I love just being able to look things up easily. Yeah, but we had a lot of encyclopedias, always like new versions.
Oh, I'm jealous. We didn't have the money for encyclopedias. I would go to my friend's house and be very jealous. I think I would still use the encyclopedia, D.
Yeah.
I like books.
Well, you
My
know what? The
old.
libraries still have encyclopedias. I was so curious and I took my daughter and she's like, what is this? I was like, oh my gosh, they got encyclopedias. This is from 2023.
That would be like an updated version.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. That now as marketers, we'll be talking about the yellow pages next. So I look forward, Dee, to seeing your crocheted scarf on LinkedIn because
Ooh,
you truly are the guru of how to brand yourself online. But privately, I will not be seeing family photos because you need to ask for permission.
right.
Thank you, Dee. Anything else you want to share before
No, but thank you so much for having me. And I will admit I have a little bit of fear now that I must finish the scarf.
I'm just so impressed you're doing it. I have no patience. Although if the only thing I wanted to adopt is, you can have like an internal a house hydroponic garden. So
Yeah.
I
Oh,
ordered, no lie, I ordered this hydroponic garden. It's the size of an aquarium and it's been sitting there for at least a week,
yeah. Mm.
unopened. I'll get to it.
I would love for you to post that. And that's something that we could both work towards.
Okay, I will have fresh lettuce for my rabbits. It's mostly because
Mm,
romaine's getting too expensive, frankly.
right?
But I feel like going back to your childhood, we always had a little plot of homegrown veggies. So I feel like to go back with a hydroponic aquarium garden.
Yes.
Thank you, Dee. It's been delightful chatting with you. You made my dreary day. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sherry.